was unexpected, but it was something I've decided to do because actually this is really a wonderful opportunity. We've been talking so much about all of the awful things that are going on. The news is always bad. Um, you can't find anything wonderful that's going on environmentally. But yet, if you dig a little, you can. But this is old. And I'm coming live today because I'm going to read a chapter. This one's for the so called doomer chicks. And Anne LaBastille, she was an ecologist and a photographer, and she had a Ph.D. in wildlife ecology from Cornell, which is not far from me. And I have friends that work in Cornell. So today I'm going to read this good passage because it is really important that females, women, men too, but this is hey Kim, this is for let me make you a moderator, or are you automatically a moderator? I don't even know if the thing's up yet, if I can do it. Uh but I'm doing this reading from this book, and it was a gift from Basil and Karen Peterson, who I spent the weekend with a couple of like last weekend, and they gave me this book, and then I started reading it, and I became inspired. And because I'm inspired, I want to read this one little snippet for you guys and for whoever joins me. She had also gotten the Nature Communicator Award for 1994 from Dr. Roger Torrey Peterson. Well, she has a lot of things, and I'm gonna just put links up because I really want to go get to the chapter, because it really does have relevance to us, to what we all should know today, what we all should understand, how to survive, how to live. She's an inspiration. She passed away in 2011, and it makes me sad, but that I never got to even know this amazing woman. But here we go. All right? So sit back and enjoy this little bit of a narration. Survival in a log cabin in the woods as a lone woman falls into three categories. They are simply the three rules for a good life that I learned as a campfire girl years ago. Now remember, this was written in 1976. They are work, health, and love. I need to see, let me see, make sure that this is going right. I'm not sure, but I don't know. Okay, I guess it is. Good deal. All righty. So, go back to it. Work, health, and love. Survival in the sphere of work means maintaining and protecting my home and providing an income through my profession. Accomplishing this as a single woman has taken a special mental attitude. The first thing was to convince myself that I could handle anything I had or wanted to. The time old excuse of being a woman, no, 1976, remember, hence frail, dumb, afraid, in need of protection and a man's assistance, has no place in an isolated and rustic lifestyle. I believe a woman can do whatever she sets her mind to once she's learned how. Okay, let's do it here. Last night it was too loud. Now it's too low. And I'm trying to do this. I can never get anything right. Okay. She goes on. Some of the fictions I have had to overcome had been planted in childhood and perpetuated in early adulthood. I learned that I would not damage my delicate internal organs by doing hard work. I discovered that calluses, firm muscles, or a smudge of grease on the nose would not make me unfeminine. I found it was possible to lift and carry heavy weights and large shapes through the simple use of leverage, traction, and balance. I saw that, given the proper instruction, I could do most any kind of work, whether it was changing a truck tire, making out income taxes, shooting firearms, scuba diving, or reupholstering. Slowly, the sexual dichotomy and double standard toward work, which we still practice in the United States, fell to pieces, leaving me freer and more competent. From the beginning, I had made the cabin as simple as possible so that I could do most of the repairs and maintenance myself. This was pretty. This was partly because it was too difficult to get skilled electricians, plumbers, and carpenters to work way up at the Black Bear Lake, which is up in the Adirondacks, is beautiful. Um, all right, let's see here. Sorry, I need to. Okay, and partly because I enjoyed being self sufficient. People are always surprised and sometimes shocked when I tell them I have no electricity. I don't want electricity, she says, even though it would now be possible to tap into a power line 500 feet back from the cabin. The reasons are that I don't want a right of way slashed through my woods for poles and wires. I don't want dangerous hotlines lying on the ground after a storm. I don't care to wait several hours or even days for the lineman to restore broken service, and I can't think of anything to use electricity for anyway. 1976, guys. She wasn't using a computer. All of my comforts of living, light, heat, cooking facilities, and refrigeration are provided by propane gas. Without electricity, I live more ecologically and less expensively. Obviously, she didn't understand about pumping and pipelines and drilling and all that at that point yet. Perhaps she did, and perhaps that was the only way she had. Why do I need an electric hairdryer? I have the wind. Why should I use an electric carving knife? I have a sharp hunting blade. Why must I own an electric vacuum cleaner? I have a dustpan and a broom. Why should I use an electric toothbrush? I have toothpicks and a strong arm and wrist. How can I bring myself to use an electric fingernail polisher or makeup mirror? For the cost of one of these silly appliances, an Indian family of 4 could live for a month in Guatemala. Besides, painted nails and powdered faces don't last very long in the Northwoods. My record player, radio, and Citizens Band set all run off batteries. The big 12-volt ones I trade off in the truck, charging one up every month or two as needed. I wind an old clock each morning. I boil up camp coffee in a bright red pot. Bread browns nicely on a metal frame, which sits over a gas stove burner. My 3 burner range and little oven enable me to cook almost anything. Dirty dishes get washed in the sink in the summer or in a pail on the stove in the winter. I'll never resort to paper cups, plates, and plastic utensils because they are not reusable, not ecologically thrifty either. Dirty clothes I do in the sink or pails, or take out to the lake. A serene laundromat. It would be unrealistic to say that my lifestyle is independent of the modern technology of the outside world. I rely on it for dozens of things, bottled gas, tin cans, batteries, and dog food being the most essential. She has some beautiful pictures of her and her dog. She says, I could simply not survive in the cabin or off the land in the Adirondacks. It's too cold, too severe, too impoverished in wild food and game. And after eating the meager harvest of Charlie's garden, I know that farming is impractical. Nevertheless, I try to be as resourceful and independent as possible. That's pretty interesting, that she was saying that about that she was relying on the gas, that farming was kind of not that great up there, and that the hunting wasn't even that good. And this was 1976. I just wonder what was wafting up from New York City before a lot of the pollution regulations went in, she says. As far as maintenance of my cabin, I can handle most tasks myself. Painting and repairing the roof, simple carpentry, cutting firewood, hooking up and draining down the water system in summer, creosoting posts, dock, and sun deck. Simple repairs to the chainsaw, axes, and tools, taking down any dead trees which threaten the camp, and digging no holes for the outhouse. Two things, however, have me stymied: the propane gas system and the plumbing. Of the first, even the smallest gas leak can be potentially dangerous and crippling to the cabin. As a security, the system is divided into three sections, and each can be turned off at the big tanks outdoors in case of a leak or fire. And by the way, that's how we live here. We have propane. I don't like it. I try to use as little as possible. The kitchen lights and appliances and the basement hot water heater and lights run off one line. The main log room or studio, lights and floor furnace operate off another. The third line goes to the porch and guest room for their small heaters and lights. As backup, I have kerosene lamps, candles, and the wood fireplace, and a campfire for cooking. Even so, if anything goes wrong, I have to rely on outside help to fix it. Someday I must learn how to flare tubing. Add a T, connect a nipple, clean the carbon from the burners, and run a new branch line to a gas fixture. You know, Annie, in 2011, I'm sure your attitude changed, and I'm obviously going to do more research about you. The plumbing also has me buffaloed, she says, though it is very simple. There is a gas pump, yards of plastic line, and a water holding tank, a sink, and a bathtub. Yet I have managed to chop a line in two with the axe, shoot a hole in the tank, and strip the threads on a faucet. My backup, of course, is carrying buckets of water from the lake, using the outhouse, swimming in the summer, and taking a hot horse tub and pail baths in the winter. But if the system fails, again, someone has to come up and help me. Sometimes you need that help. I must someday learn to repair and reconnect plastic pipe after the bears have chewed holes in it. Thread a metal pipe, change a washer, unplug the drain, and solder the tank if it leaks. My survival as an independent ecological consultant and freelance writer photographer is quixotic, sometimes precocious, sometimes lucrative, but always fascinating. For this type of work, the cabin suits me to perfection. When writing articles or reports, I find the quiet and tranquility of my little studio a definite and necessary prerequisite to creative thinking and steady output. I couldn't function half as well if I was jarred by a city's noises or interruption from office workers or neighbors. Despite its isolation in one of the wildest sections of the Adirondacks, leaving the cabin for distant places is sometimes surprisingly easy. So she goes on and she talks about her life and the uncomplicatedness of it, which is something that I sought to find here, but it's really hard because we're connected, and we wouldn't be watching me if we weren't connected, right? And we have the electricity. And no matter if I want solar, uh, to be off the grid fully, like my wonderful friends who gifted me the book to read, still takes a bit more than what she's talking about in 1976. Although she's a trailblazer, right? I mean, now we watch TV shows. We see the Alaska shows where there's the one woman, Sue, on I don't remember the exact name, but she lives all the way up in the north of Alaska, and she's got an airport, and small planes depend on her when the seasonally to land there, and she has to have fuel and all. How's that going to happen without fossil fuels? How did it happen before fossil fuels? People didn't live out there. People have wanted to go and conquer the wilderness forever. Now we conquer the wilderness and we just ruin it. So she did talk about going to Alaska, but she didn't end up going. And I'm not going to read anymore. I just wanted to come on for a short little one. And actually, because I just thought reading what she went through and knowing that later in life I wanted to change and move away from it all, I am nothing near that. I have a house and electricity and televisions and computers, and the only thing we don't have is we don't have any piped in gas. You know, I really, really, back in 1976, I wasn't even out of high school yet. And when they gave me the book, I recall the name, but her name has been out of my life and my mind for so long that this was really sweet. It was really sweet. And I want to thank you guys, Basil and Karen, again, because they totally live off the grid and showed me everything. So, all right, guys. So, what do you say? Does it make you want to run out and read one of her novels? I want to read all of them. I'm fascinated by her. What is the word? Posthumously. Okay. Well, anyway, guys, thank you for coming. And I see Steven's here and uh, Mr. Oswald Spengler, man of many names, Kim and Moose Gal and Zox. I don't know if the natural progressive Chris is going on live. I'm making it swift because if she is, I think it's Monday Night Madness on her channel. I don't know. Let's just see what you say, Stephen, in her book. Second book, she returns and finds that the area is getting built up, noisy, rude people, etc. So of course I'm going to get upset and sad. You know, we know that. Isn't that what happens? Even where I live, it's rural, but it's well, nobody wants to live down here. That many people want to come down here to live full time because they can't work down here. There's nothing to work down here. Not a lot, unless you're a farmer. There's a lot of farms. But anyway, guys, listen, peace. I'm happy y'all came. Humans here. Um, he says just a lot of work and nature smells great. And oh wait, okay. Thanks, Moose Gal. She's got a book. A great book to read is Farewell, My Subaru, an epic adventure in local living by Doug Fine. Okay. You know, I have so much, I'm dealing with health issues, right? And I try to keep myself focused on things. And between everything that people send me and books that I want to read and software programs that I need to learn because people are criticizing, but I'm doing my best. I ask for no money. And this whole thing is bankrolled by moi. And guess what? It's a labor of love. And if you're impatient and you don't like the fact that I screw up mostly every live stream that has other people in it, oh, well, that's part of the charm of Environmental Coffee House. You know what you're going to get. Peace, guys. Good night, and thanks for coming.